All right, let's just get it out the way. I know this review's coming out pretty late relative to the release of this movie, but I needed to do it now or it's never going to happen because Oppenheimer I'm seeing tomorrow and then I'm seeing Barbie on Friday. I have a lot to review, a lot to break down, and I want to get this out while I still have the thoughts relatively new in my head. Of course, we're talking about Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, starring Tom Cruise. For context, I've only seen Mission Impossible 4, 5, 6, and now 7. I haven't seen the first 3. I know I need to. I just thought they were skippable. I saw somewhere on the internet I could skip them, so I've only seen 4 to now. And I only saw those about 6, 7 months ago because I was on a Tom Cruise kick. That does not take away from the fact that I absolutely loved this movie. Now, I feel like there's this thing thrown around where like trailers would tell you it needs to be seen in theaters. And I feel like most of the time that's BS. Like, do I need to see the remake of Little Mermaid in the theater? No, I really don't. But for movies like this, Mission Impossible, man, it is worth seeing in the theater. It is an experience. It is something that when you see it on the big screen, you feel a part of it. And seeing it with a crowd of people for the first time, I saw it in a packed theater on an early showing the Monday before it came out, so about a day or two before it came out. And man, it was an awesome time, especially when you get those early showings and it's just surrounded by the people that want to see this movie the most that are also excited to see it. It's an experience that I always love and why I always want to see movies on release night. But it's a Mission Impossible movie. You know why you're going in to see it. You're going to see Tom Cruise sprint for a little bit. You're going to see him do some crazy stunts and you're there for some awesome action. And this movie really delivers on all of that, especially the Tom Cruise running. I feel like there was an excessive amount of Tom Cruise running. Not that I'm complaining. I thought it was awesome, but there was a lot of that. It's like they're definitely embracing the memes now. And they're just like, yeah, we're going to make him run. We're going to run him to death at this point. And I should say this right now. This is a spoiler-free review. The movie's been out for about a week now. This will be vague. I'll be breaking down the things I liked and the things that didn't really work for me, because there were some things that I thought were a little bit off and kind of hold it back just the slightest amount. That doesn't change the fact that this is a movie that I definitely recommend and think you should see if you're an action movie fan or just a fan of movies. Seeing a 61-year-old Tom Cruise run around and do these crazy stunts, you've all seen the stunt that he does in the trailer jumping off the cliff. Seeing him do that, being one of the last action movie stars that's like legitimately doing their own stuff along with Keanu Reeves as John Wick, it's kind of something that opens your eyes. Me, as someone who wasn't really in love with movies until a couple years ago, I'd say, is when I really got into movies as a whole. Seeing the first John Wick movies kind of opened my eyes, and then going back this past 6-7 months and watching the Mission Impossibles, it really gives you a new appreciation for practical action. And Tom Cruise, obviously, he's great in this movie. It's his baby. It's his franchise. He's gonna make sure it's good, and he is awesome in it. But alongside Tom Cruise, I mean, Hayley Atwell really steals the show in every scene that she's in. I think I was so used to seeing her as Peggy Carter, and that's really all I knew her as. So when I see her play this completely different character from Peggy Carter, and she's doing all these awesome things, I'm like, whoa, I'm like, where was this in the MCU? She and Tom Cruise really bounce off each other really well, and it's really interesting to see some kind of newbie come into the story and how they kind of play off of all the wacky things that the IMF does. I think she's probably really the standout of this movie outside of Tom Cruise himself. The regular cast is returning. You know them. You know Ving Rhames. You know Simon Pegg. You know Rebecca Ferguson. They're going to be there. Ethan Hunt's crew is all back in the movie, and they're all playing their typical role, and they're all great. While I'm talking about the good things, I think another thing that needs to be said, obviously you're getting into Mission Impossible. You're going to need to talk about the action scenes, and I think they are awesome in this movie. I think they're probably the most well-shot action scenes we've gotten in regards to the cinematography and the sequences and how the camera work is done. Specifically in the Venice night sequence, I thought that was incredibly done. Probably my favorite part of the movie itself. The airport sequence is awesome. The ending, of course, is awesome with the mountain and everything that comes with that. They really knock it out the park for this movie, which, given it's nearly 3 hours long, and that's just tremendous. It did not feel like a 3-hour movie. It got to the end of the movie, and I was really wishing I had more to watch. Like, I wished part 2 was just added on. And that's a feeling I got with Across the Spider-Verse, and I definitely got it with this movie also. And I'd say that's a bigger achievement than Across the Spider-Verse, simply because this movie actually has a definitive ending, I'd say. It's not the end of the story they're setting up, but it's an end of part of the story. And you're satisfied with the ending, and it doesn't really feel like you're left on a cliffhanger. Whereas Across the Spider-Verse definitely just feels like it's halfway through the movie, and they're just picking, all right, this is good enough. We're going to stop it here, and we'll just save the rest for next year. Like I said, the Venice sequence, there's a specific shot in this movie, and I don't know why it was so great to me. I'm not going to try and give too much away, but there are characters on a bridge, and it is just kind of like moving around, and then you're cutting to another character and what they're doing at the time, and it just, the bouncing between is just super well done, as well as that whole sequence was probably, like I said, my favorite part of the movie in regards to the action. And on a plot level, I think at its core, it works. A lot of my issues do come from a specific part of the plot, but I don't think it really holds the movie back too far, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to Mission Impossible for a super deep plot. I'm going for the action, and I think the action alone makes it worth seeing. I do wish the plot was a little bit stronger. They worked on a few things, and I guess that's a good segue for us to kind of move into the few negatives I have about this movie. And I'll go with the plot first. To me, I didn't really love the AI plot point, and it's not the fact that it's an AI plot point. I think it's more the execution of it. I think there were definitely one or two too many scenes where they're just talking and expositioning about the AI and how scary it is, when all I really wanted was for them to show how scary it was. You're supposed to get an idea of how scary it was through the main villain, and the main villain was, I guess, cool surface level, but he didn't really resonate with me. I think that a lot of that's probably coming off of Mission Impossible Fallout and Henry Cavill's villain being so much cooler to me. So I think this was probably just a step down. Doesn't mean it's bad, but I don't think it lives up to Fallout in regards to the villain. And I kind of wish the AI was a little bit better done. There were a scene or two where I feel like I was zoning out because I just kept talking about the AI, and it was just trying to set up how scary it is without really showing us, other than like one scene in the movie at the start that kind of sets up, or two scenes towards the start of the movie that kind of set up that it's a threat. From that point on, it's just a lot of talking. Oh, it's bad, we need to stop it, but they don't really show it. And I think with the villain is there's a few goofy moments. There's a very specific moment, I'll just say, on the train sequence. It just came off the wrong way to me, and I was like, that's kind of stupid. And then another thing that kind of holds it back for me, this is just more of a pet peeve. I wish we got more of the crew outside of Hayley Atwell's character in the movie. And I'll say more specifically, I wanted more Rebecca Ferguson. She's probably my favorite character in this series outside of Tom Cruise himself. I think she does a great job with Ilsa, and I think there was a lot of potential for her in this movie, especially if she was able to work with Hayley Atwell more. They don't get a lot of screen time together, and I wish they had more time. I would have loved to see those characters kind of bounce off each other, but it doesn't really happen. I think a lot of her character being put to the side and kind of just being really just a side character was due to Hayley Atwell's performance, which was great. I think there's probably a way they can work them both into the plot a little bit better than they did. But at the end of the day, I think this movie is just really well made, and it's just another banger from Tom Cruise, who went from Mission Impossible Fallout to Top Gun Maverick and now to this, and then he's gonna have Dead Reckoning next year, minus like a plot grievance. I mean, everything from the actors, the action, the score is also really cool, and the pacing of the movie, it's just everything you really want from a theater experience and just a action movie experience as a whole. Is it better than Fallout? I don't think so as of now, but I don't think it's far behind. I think it's either number 2 or number 3 for me. And is it better than John Wick 4, which is obviously the rival action franchise? For me, no. I think I have a better connection with John Wick 4, so that's probably a lot of the reason, and I like the stylized stuff a little bit more. Don't let the fact that it's not better than 2 of my favorite movies of all time take away from the fact that this is still an awesome experience, and I would totally recommend it. And at the end of the day, I think my final review is going to be that this movie is a solid Tom Cruise sprint out of 10. I really enjoyed it. It was super fun, and one of the best movies I've seen this year for sure. And I'm not going to hold you any longer. That's the review. If you agree, awesome. If you don't, awesome. Leave a comment below what you thought of the movie. And if you've made it this far, leave a like. I would really appreciate it. I'm just starting this channel out. And ring the notification bell. I'm going to try and do Oppenheimer and Barbie reviews. I'm seeing Oppenheimer super late tomorrow as I'm recording this, and I probably won't be able to get a review out until the weekend. But I'm looking forward to doing that. Same with Barbie. And hopefully this is the start of a fun channel where I can review everything. And I appreciate you guys for stopping by. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Peace out.